Now, this goes back to what we were discussing earlier. And, the whole issue of people being too proud. Now, a lot of times in many of our communities, regardless of whether we're talking about jobs, whether we're talking about relationships, whether we're talking about our positions in the community, whatever it may be, we find that individuals do what? They allow what they feel as though would cause them to swallow their, what is it called? Like something that's difficult. Inshallah, one of you within the chat, inshallah, if you know the phrase that I'm talking about, type it in here for us. Um, and basically you have to swallow your pride. This is the general meaning of, do something that's difficult for you to do, you know, because it's not just those things that we want that we allow our pride to keep us from. But a lot of times we find that it's things that we actually need. Even there may be questions that we want. People are looking for assistance when it comes to their marriages. But because they don't want people to know what was going on or know this or that, or it's going to make them look bad, so that they do what? They just say, you know what, forget it. We're not even going to look for help. You have marriages that are in shambles for months, if not years, and the two of you weren't able to work it out. So instead of, now I'm not talking about not willing to work it out, the two of you weren't able to. You did your best, she did her best, or you did your best and he did his best. Weren't able to figure out what the problem was. So you decide, okay, well, listen, instead of getting someone in here that is professional, someone that can tell us, that can show us the right way to get this done, we'll just split, break up our family, rip up our kids and all of the rest of that stuff. And, we say, okay, well, it's better that the kids don't see this, that. No, it's better that you figure out how to work things out. It's better that you swallow your pride and you make things happen so that your kids see the example of, okay, listen, when things get tough, the tough don't get going. The tough work it out. So that when they get in that situation and they have tough situations, they don't say, okay, well, listen, you know what? My dad took us and moved us away. So I can do it on my own. Or my mom took us and moved us away. So I can do it on my own. We need our children, especially in these days and times. All you have to do is open your eyes. You see that things are getting more expensive. Economic situations are getting worse. It's to this point where even nowadays you realize that if you don't, something's wrong. But you should realize that you need a two-person household. It's not even really an option too much anymore. This is why so many of our people in our communities are living check to check. And so many of us are in a situation where we are one sickness or one week or 2 week hospital stay away from losing everything. End up in the hospital, even if you have health insurance and all of the rest of that. Do you think your job's going to keep you not being able to come to work for a couple of weeks? That's in the hospital. Now, what about the time you need outside of the hospital? And how are you going to get money to pay for your rent and your bills and all the rest of that stuff that goes on? You may end up losing your spot because there wasn't anybody there to have your back. Do you understand what I'm saying? So the point is, so that we don't get off topic, we need to make sure that we're able to swallow our pride so we don't put ourselves in that situation. We don't put our kids in that situation so that later on, as things get worse, things become more expensive, life gets more out of hand, that they don't get in a situation where they be like, look, I saw it wasn't done. It was done this way before. If they did it, I can do it. That pride needs to be swallowed. Don't allow your pride to put you in a situation to where you harm yourself and you harm your children. Do you understand? When it comes to issues of individuals that you want to be married to. Work for that. Swallow that pride. If you have to speak to whoever you have to speak to them. Don't, well, listen, I'm not going to go and, talk to so and so because, I don't want them to think that, I don't want them, or I'm not going to approach an individual and be like, listen, who would I need to talk to if I was interested in getting married? Because, what if they turn me down? So what, you're going to lose out on something that you feel as though is something that you want or something that you may need in your life? So that people don't say, okay, well, listen, he looked thirsty trying to find out about Falana. You understand? We need to make sure that we leave that pride aspect at the door. I mean, now there's nothing wrong with a certain amount of pride. You should have a certain amount of pride within yourself. You understand? To keep you where you need to be at, but not that bad type of pride that makes you overly haughty. Especially not that type of pride that's going to make you lose out. There are things you may need. You may need assistance. You may be married or want to get married, and you need a good job. You know, a brother that's got a company, and listen, I think, if he could find a way to get me into that company, then inshallah, hopefully I'll be there to take care of my family and this, that, and other. Somebody comes to you and be like, you know what? You should go holler, Falan. And your first response is, you know, no, I don't know, man. I don't want to make you feel like I'm begging this, that, and other. Man, if you got to beg, you got to beg. But more, 9 times out of 10, the brother's not gonna make you beg. But you got to get what you can get. You got to get what you need. You need a job, brother. What do you mean you're not gonna go and ask the brother, listen, can he put you on? If he wanted me, he would have asked me. You're the one that is in need. You want the job. You need the job. So you should make the effort. The brother might not even be thinking nothing about you or even feel in that position. Do you understand? Or even helping his boss fill a position. He might, listen, his mom might be somewhere else. You might walk up to him and be like, yo, this, and the brother might just say, you know what, I never even thought, let me holler at my boss. Or if it's his company, you know what, we can give you a try. I may not got that position for you, but I might got something else for you. Or he might even give you a hard time. So what? If he gives you a hard time, if he gives you a hard time, but he allows you to get that hand up, that what is not the hand up, what do they call that? He gives you that boost that you need so that you can get where you want to get. That hard time, that little bit of a hard time wasn't worth it. You understand what I'm saying? As far as relationships, some people are losing out on the relationship of a lifetime because of the fact that they don't want to be the one to apologize. They're losing their wives. They're losing their husbands. They're losing relationship with their children because they don't want to be the one to apologize, even though they know they were the ones that were wrong. Why? Because their pride will not allow them to go and make that first step. So they end up losing their wife, they end up losing their husband, they end up losing their relationship with their children or relationship with their parents. Why? Because their pride won't allow them to make that first step or to apologize. You understand? But anyway, the whole of the situation is this. We got to get over ourselves. We have to get over ourselves. Too many of us nowadays, we're putting ourselves in bad situations. And even worse than that, we're putting our families in bad situations because we don't want to do what we have to do because we feel as though other people are going to look at us funny. No, people are going to look at you funny when you end up losing your family because you didn't, even if they don't realize it, but you could have not lost them had you just opened your mouth. You're going to end up losing your job. And you could have not lost your job, which is going to affect the entirety of your family and your community. If you just had opened your mouth and said what you needed to say, give that apology that needed to be given. Swallow your pride. Some of us, our pride is more important to us than the good that we want and or need. And it doesn't make any sense. It's causing us to harm ourselves. And when we harm ourselves, we end up harming our households, our families. And automatically, when we end up harming in our families and having dysfunctional families or splitting up our families, it's going to affect the community. How many times have you seen communities where communities are halfway tight, tight knit and one of the families end up breaking up, right? And then what ends up happening? Then you find everyone's got to kind of feel like they choosing sides. This one's on this one's, and they kind of have to, separate from the other individual. And even sometimes that even causes problems in other people's houses. The brother might be with the brother and the sister might be with the sister. Well, why are you with them? They even this, then, and before you know it, they argue because you wouldn't do what you had to do. Honestly, it's selfish. And you all know because I always talk about the issue of us being selfish individuals. It's almost like it's in our nature nowadays. It's about me and what I want, regardless of how it affects everybody else. And it's to the point where many of us we convince ourselves that me being happy is what's going to make everybody else happy and healthy. In that situation we just talked about just now, the family that broke up and had the effect on the rest of the community. If the man left and said, you know what? Look, I'm not happy. I'm out. The problems, now you can't tell me it's not going to cause problems for the children. I'm going to choose my happiness over my children's happiness? Or should I go through what I have to go through and try to work on it so that I can be happy and my children can be happy? Should I go through what I have to go through and work on what I have to work on, regardless of what it takes, so that my community can remain intact? Or should I just say, you know what? Everybody, that Allah will make a way for everybody. Look, I gotta do me. It's selfish. It's selfish. And all of this could have been stopped. All of these issues cannot exist, or I'm not going to say all of them, because there are some issues that may be best if people were to separate. There are issues, but that's not the majority of what we run into. You all know that I do a lot of life coaching. I do a lot of marriage coaching and relationship coaching, things along these sorts. The majority of the people's issues that we run into, at least in this particular field, you're going to find that they're not, they don't necessitate separation. They necessitate going to an individual that can show you how it's supposed to be. They necessitate going to an individual that can show you how it's supposed to be. You all know, or for all of you that have actually used my services, you know, I'm not someone that says all marriages can be saved. People have to be into wanting to save the marriage and willing to learn exactly what marriage is. And this is a conversation any of you that have dealt with me know this is a conversation we always have. We have to discuss what marriage actually is, not the picture that we have in our head that we got from Disney and all the rest of that stuff, but we have to discuss what marriage actually is. What is a husband and what is a wife? The benefit of a husband and a benefit of a wife. We have to discuss these things and understand all of this, and then we talk about how to apply this. Because in order to make it really work, each person has to play their role. Each person has to take on their responsibility and give the rights that they need to be given. Right? So I'm gonna cut this short, inshallah ta'ala. But I want you to remember that we started off talking about swallowing our pride and not letting our pride keep us from those things that we need and we want. I want to end off with the same thing. Listen, do not allow yourself, your family, your community to suffer because of the fact that you did not want to do what you had to do because people are going to say this about you or people are going to say that about you. It's not your job to allow everyone else to hurt so that you can feel good about yourself. So people can't say you look like you were in need. You reached out for help. You apologized first. You were the first one to speak. This is something that's praised. These are things that are praiseworthy. And somehow or another, we've allowed society and the shaitan to split us around in a bunch of circles, in a bunch of circles, get us dizzy and not have us understand which direction we're supposed to be moving in. Tayyip, swallow that pride. Do what's best for you, your family, and your community, and ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make things easy for you. Tayyip. But don't allow your pride to continue to sink your ship. All right. So, inshallah ta'ala, I'm going to stop there. The questions that you're putting in the chat in the Discord, inshallah ta'ala, I'll get to them in one of the future, lives. And for those of you who aren't part of the Discord, then you can find the link in the description, as well as, inshallah ta'ala, if you'd like to discuss further about these other issues and things, you can sign into the Patreon. The link for that as well as in the description. طيب جزاكم الله خير وبارك الله فيكم والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.